So hello students, a title of today's lecture is a resistivity equation in 4-probe measurement. You have already seen that 4-probe setup is more reliable as compared to 2-probe setup because in case of 4-probe setup we get more accurate results regarding the resistivity data. You know that in case of 4-probe system, so we place our 4 probes something like this, and normally we prefer to place these probes almost in the center of the sample. Actually, the circuit arrangement is something like this. So the current travels from outer 2 probes. So for example, here this current source is connected here, and through this constant current source, current is entering into the system, and through this semiconductor part, it is traveling like this, and then it is being collected by the other 4th probe. And the central 2 probes are used to measure the potential difference, and this potential difference which is measured here and the current which is supplied from the outside probes, these two together give us some information about the resistivity of the material. You know that this 4-probe resistivity setup provides more accurate measurement of resistivity as compared to 2-probe setup. Now, why this accuracy is ensured? This accuracy is ensured because voltage drop across contact resistance. You see the contact resistance and spreading resistance. So the voltage drop across these two resistances is negligibly small, and this happens in the voltage loop. So see, there are two loops. This outer loop is current loop. This loop is current loop, right? And the central loop is voltage loop because here we are measuring voltage, and for that purpose we have connected a high impedance voltmeter here, and because of this high impedance, current in this inner circuit is almost zero, and because of that what happens, this contact resistance is present here, contact resistance is present here also, and not only contact resistance, this spreading resistance and contact resistance both are present here, but they are not effective, they are not affecting the result because the voltage drop across this resistance, contact resistance and spreading resistance here, and in the same way voltage drop across the contact resistance and spreading resistance here is almost zero, negligible. Why? Because the current in this circuit is zero, and that is possible because this voltmeter is a high impedance voltmeter. So because of almost zero current or negligible current, no voltage drop across contact resistance and spreading resistance comes into picture. So whatever voltage we are measuring here, this voltage is actually the voltage which is appearing into the semiconductor, and this is the advantage, and because of this accuracy is ensured, we get more accurate results in case of this 4-probe setup, right? Now, okay, so when we derive a mathematical equation, you know the mathematical equation is necessary because that give us more accurate and more quantitative measurement of the data. So if you want to derive a mathematical relationship between voltage, current and resistivity of the material, we have to make certain assumptions. So these assumptions are very important because everything depends on these assumptions. And if these assumptions are not met, then we need to apply some correction into the result. But in the beginning we will assume that all the assumptions which we are with which we are starting, they are true, and there is no need of any correction in the equation. So first we have to see what are those assumptions. So normally the sample on which we are performing the measurement, this sample should be very large. Ideally it should be infinite, but infinite sample is not possible because infinite means something which covers whole universe, and that kind of sample is not going to be used by us. So practically what we assume that the sample is semi-infinite, right? Semi-infinite. And what is the meaning of this semi-infinite sample? uh, the thickness of the sample is very large, and when we say that something is large, we have to specify it in comparison with something which is small, and in comparison to that we have to tell that the thickness is large, and here we are doing this comparison against probe spacing. So this is probe spacing. So what we want to say that the thickness of the sample should be very large as compared to probe spacing, only then we will say that this assumption is satisfied, that sample is semi-infinite, at least in the vertical direction, right? The second assumption is that the lateral dimensions. So in the first case we had talked about the vertical dimensions, but in the second case we are talking about the lateral dimensions. Lateral dimensions, suppose this sample is circular sample, so in that case lateral dimension means diameter. So if it is circular sample, then we say that the diameter is very large, and again we are comparing it with something, probe spacing. So if the diameter of sample is very large as compared to probe spacing, so for the measurement setup, the sample will appear as semi-infinite sample, right? These two conditions are very important conditions, and based on these two conditions we will derive that mathematical equation which gives us a relationship between Vi and rho, resistivity of the material. There is third assumption also, it's also very important. Probes are far away from the edge of the sample. It's not that suppose we have this kind of very large sample, right? And it's almost semi-infinite, but if we place our probes here near the edge, then we are not getting the benefit of semi-infinite assumption, because if we look towards this side, sample is semi-infinite, right? It's almost infinite. But if we go towards this side, uh, after a certain distance we reach to the edge, so we can't say that it is infinite. No, it's not infinite. So whether this assumption is met or not, it also depends on the placement of the probes. So they should be in such a way that we go in the x direction, negative x direction, or y direction, or negative y direction. So the distance to the edge is very large. So if all these three conditions are satisfied, then we can say that our sample is semi-infinite, and if it is semi-infinite, then we can derive that mathematical equation for the resistivity. So for deriving this equation, what we have to do, we need to find out a theoretical value of potential difference between these two for a given amount of current which is flowing here. So for that purpose, what we need to do, first we have to find out how much is potential at this point, right, under probe 2, and how much is potential at this point under probe 3, and then we have to find out the difference of this potential and this potential. The potential here is suppose V2, right, and the potential here is V3. So we need to find out V2 and V3, and this V2 will depend on how much current is entering here, and V2 also depends on how much current is going out of this, because these two are input probes. So the current in these two probes will affect the potential here. Same way, the potential at this point will also be affected by current in this branch and current in this branch. So first we have to find out how much is potential here and how much is potential here. Then we have to find out its difference, and that difference is actually our V, right? Now we go to the next point in the derivation step. So first, you see, we have to see what happened to this potential if there is a single probe, right? For example, this kind of sample is there, a single probe is touching, and now we are trying to find out how we can find out potential at any point because of this probe which is touching the sample surface. But before that, you just verify that the sample is semi-infinite or not. So you see, from this probe, if we go towards the left side, it's indicated as infinite, because this distance, we are trying to say that it's infinite distance, and we also have assumed that if we go towards the right side, this distance is also infinite, almost infinite, and vertically also if we go down, it's almost infinite. So here on this slide, we have shown some finite dimension, but practically we are considering that these distances are very large, and the sample is almost semi-infinite sample. Okay. So now we have to see, now this probe is inserting some current into the sample, and because of that current which is entering into this material, some potential will appear at different points, right? We want to find out how much is potential because of this current under the voltage probes. So but first we will write a general equation. So means that we try to write a equation which specify the potential at any point P. Suppose P is here, so how much is potential at this point, right? So actually what is happening, when this current is entering into material, it will spread in all the directions, And if you see this green circle is half circle, but practically it is not half circle, it is a hemisphere, right? Because the sample is 3D sample, so it is a hemisphere. So all the points which are located at this hemisphere surface, they are at equal distance from this probe, right? So they have same charge density here, and they have same potential at all these points. So it is a type of equipotential surface, right? And the surface area of this hemisphere is 2 pi r square. Surface area of full sphere is 4 pi r square, and this is hemisphere. So total area here is 2 pi r square. But now see, suppose we are at distance p, so how much potential is here? That we have to see how to calculate this potential. So for this purpose, we have to go our high school equations, which we have seen there in our high school uh, or secondary school. So the electric field at any point is given by this equation. So electric field is current density into rho. So this J current density, which is flowing into the material, and rho is resistivity of this material, right? And that is equal to minus dV by dr, while r is distance of a given point from this probe. Now you know that this current density is given by I divided by A. I is the current which is entering into the material, and then this current is distributing everywhere here. And if you want to find out current density, then we have to find out this A surface area of this hemisphere, right? Now this A, we already covered that this A is given by this 2 pi r square. So current density at any distance r will be I by 2 pi r square, right? If we are talking here, then the current density at this point will be given by this formula. This r is distance up to this point, right? Now if we put the value of this current density here in this equation, then from here we can find out relationship between potential and this resistivity of the material, right? So the voltage at any point P at distance r from probe is then given by a relationship something like this. So both sides integrated, and this J is replaced by this parameter I by 2 pi r square. Then dr will go towards this side, and since we are integrating it over these limits, so by integration we can find out V, right? So here you see these parameters are constant parameters, so they are out of this integration. I is constant, rho is constant, 2 pi is constant. Only r is variable because r may vary within the sample. So that will stay inside this integration part. Now if we solve it, we will get this value. So you see, potential at any point P at a distance r will be given by this formula. So it depends on the current which is going inside the material. It also depends on the value of resistivity, right? Resistivity of the material, and it is inversely proportional to r. Means as we go away from this probe, so the potential will keep on decreasing. But if we increase this current, the potential will keep on increasing, and it also directly proportional to rho. So if we increase the resistivity, right, for a given current and at a given distance, this potential will increase, right? This is normal behavior, that if resistivity increases, voltage drop across the material will increase, right? So so this is the case of a single probe when the single probe is touching the material. Now see what happens if two probes are touching, and this is the case which is very much similar to our case, because we have two current probes, not a single probe, right? So now we have to see if two probes are there, what happens. Now you see, we are assuming that there are two probes touching the semiconductor. One probe is injecting the current into the material, and through the second probe this current is going out, right? And in the center here there are two voltage probes. Now at the same distance P, sorry, at the same point P, suppose this is point P, we have to find out what is the net potential because of two probes. Here we calculated the potential because of single probe. Now we are considering the case when there are two probes. Now distance of this point from I is, from this first probe is r1, and distance of the same point from the second probe is r2, right? So from this equation we know that potential at any point I will be given something like this. So first we will calculate potential at this point because of first probe, then because of second probe, and then we will add them together, right? And this equation will be something like this. So this is because of this first probe. You see R1 and R1 is here. So you see here there is a positive sign. So there was a positive sign here, but uh, the potential because of the second probe that have a negative sign. Why? Because current is going out of this probe. So they are behaving in the opposite way. So the current is coming inside the material through this probe. So this probe will produce here a positive potential, and this probe which is taking out current from this sample, that probe will produce a negative potential here. So the net potential will be given by this equation, and we can simplify it. The potential at point P will be given by this equation. Remember, this is very important result because we are going to use this equation in the next slide in order to find out potential below the voltage probes. Now you see what happens if four inline probes are touching the semiconductor material, right? This is the case in which we are interested. We have already seen that the four probe setup is something like this. These two outer probes, this first probe is inserting current here into the material, and this fourth probe is taking out this current, and these two probes are for the voltage measurement. And remember, the sample is semi-infinite sample. Now first we have to see how much is potential here below this second probe because of current here and because of current in this branch, right? So and then we have to see how much is potential below this. So this potential here is suppose V3, I am writing here 3, and this potential here suppose is V2, right? It's like this. So if we are connecting a voltmeter here, this voltmeter which is connected here, that will give us voltage V23, right? Which is potential difference between these two probes. So this V which we are measuring here between probe 2 and probe 3, that V is actually V23, and this V23 is V2 minus V3, means the potential difference which is appearing at this point and this point. So first we have to find out the potential at this point V2, and then potential at this point V3. Now you know that V2 potential here because of this first probe and second probe will be given something like this. In the earlier slide you have seen that potential is this parameter 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2, where R1 was distance from the first current probe and R2 was distance from the second current probe. So here this R1 is actually S1 and R2 is S2 plus S3, right? Like this. So we have written equation for V2. In the same way we can write equation for V3. V3 is potential at this point. And now if you want to find out potential difference V, which is measured here with the help of voltmeter, then we have to subtract these two. So if we subtract V2 minus V3, we get something like this. So this part is coming here as it is, and this part is coming from this side, right? But because of this minus sign, this first part is becoming negative and the second becoming positive. Its sign is changing because of this negative sign here, right? So now you can see in this equation we have voltage which we are measuring here, we have current which is being supplied from the outer probes, and these parameters are constant parameters, and these are also constant for a given setup. So rho we can find out very easily. We have to put the value of I and V from our experimental setup, and we can calculate rho. S1, S2, S3, they are known to us because they are fixed for a given four probe setup. And practically what happens, okay, so from this equation we can find out rho, and rho will be something like this. So this 2 pi will go here, and this I will come in denominator, and all this part will go here in the denominator, right? So rho will be given something like this. And most of the time if you see a four probe setup, S1, S2, S3, they all are same. So you see here in this diagram also they are shown just like S, because most of the time in most of the experimental setups, this S1, S2, S3 is same, and that is indicated by S. So if we replace S1, S2, S3 by S and we solve it again, we will get this equation. So this rho is 2 pi, and this S will be here and V into I, right? So if you want to find out resistivity using this 4 probe setup, you have to use this formula. So I is the constant current which is flowing through these outer two probes, and V is the potential which we are measuring between probe 2 and probe 3, and S is a constant which is separation between these tips, right? So it is very important result. So everywhere, whenever you use this 4 probe setup to find out resistivity, you have to use this particular equation. Now typically sorry, the radii of the probe, radii, which part radii means the radius of the probe at that part which is touching the semiconductor, right? We are not talking about radii at this level somewhere. So exactly that part uh, at which it is touching, yeah, means the radius of that part which is touching the semiconductor. So typically the value of tip radii or probe radii is somewhere between 30 to 500 micrometer, right? But that doesn't matter so much because this value is not appearing in our final equation. So normally we don't bother so much about this, and these dimensions are actually optimized for a given system and for a range of resistance or range of resistivity which we want to measure. So they may vary from sample to sample or from system to system, sorry, but normally we don't use them in the equation. And this S1, S2, S3, which is typically same in most of the 4 probe setups, this S varies from 0.5 to 1.5 millimeter, right? So it can be anything between these two values, but most of the systems which are available in the market for measuring the resistivity using 4 probe, so the S lies somewhere between these two. And one more interesting thing, like you see here, so all these are constant, and S is adjusted by the instrument manufacturer. So you can see that we can make this constant in such a way that use of this equation becomes very easy. See a typical example. Now suppose this S is 0.1588 centimeter. So the value of this S is something like this. Then you know the value of pi is 3.14, 2 is constant. So if you put 2 3.14 into 0.1588, so what you will get, this 2 pi S, that will become 1. So this is very interesting thing, and when it becomes 1, so you will get this equation of resistivity something like this. So what you have to do, just put the value of voltage which you are measuring between these probe 2 and probe 3 into this equation, and put the value of I which you are supplying through outer probes, and just the ratio you have to find out, and you get the resistivity. But most of the time you will see that this 2 pi s is not 1, because it's not necessary that just explain that if it happens then calculations become easy. Otherwise this part doesn't have that much importance, because it depends on your system which you are using for probe resistivity measurement. S may not be this much. So the main thing is that this is the final equation of resistivity, and with the help of this equation you can find out resistivity of any sample. And remember, this part is constant for a given setup. Just you have to know the value of V and I, and that is sufficient. That will do your job. So in today's lecture we have seen how to find out or how to derive equation of resistivity for 4 probe setup, right? And in the next lecture we will see correction factors. Correction factors means, so just now we have seen a mathematical equation for resistivity, but most of the time uh, we don't get more accurate results from this equation, because the sample is not semi-infinite all the time, and in that case we need to add some correction factor into this equation in order to get the accurate results. So that part we will cover in the next lecture, and till then, goodbye. Thank you very much. Thank you.